Would you like to get into Texas dealer auctions in 2022? I'm going to show you how easy it is to obtain your own Texas dealer's license and gain entry not only into the Texas dealer auctions, but you're going to be able to take your dealer's license in Texas and enter every single dealer auction in the United States and Canada with your own Texas dealer's license. And we're going to talk about how to get your Texas dealer's license right now. Before we get started, I want you to be aware I have posted a link to your Texas dealer license startup guide in the description below. You can download that guide for free. You don't even have to enter your email. You can just click on the link in the description below to download your free Texas dealer license startup guide. We are approved by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles to provide that 6-hour training course to get your Texas dealer's license, which I'll talk about more here in just a little bit. Or, if you want to download that manual, you can go to texasdealers.com and click on the Get License link at the top of the page, and then you can just view that startup video right there that shows you how to get your license, or you can scroll down and download your free Texas dealer license startup manual. I hope you find this guide very helpful. So first, let's go ahead and go over some dealership trends for 2022. We've obviously had a couple of very abnormal years in the motor vehicle industry. Every dealer has been affected by this in the last couple of years. First of all, things were really going good for Texas dealers at the beginning of 2020. And by some indications of sales volume in the first quarter of 2020, it appeared that we might have another record-breaking year for motor vehicle sales in the state of Texas. And even during the first quarter, when we were hearing about this virus that was coming out of China, it did not really start affecting the dealership industry in Texas until about the middle of March of 2020. And then did things really change? First of all, due to COVID restrictions, many dealers had to greatly limit the number of persons that were visiting their dealerships. And, there were other states that actually required their dealerships to close down. Many state and city governments determined that dealerships were not vital businesses, and many governments across the United States required dealerships to close completely. And, some dealers were only allowed to remain open if they had a service facility. Well, many of us dealers are small, and most of the dealers I train don't even have a garage or a service facility. Now, many of them do, but most of the dealers that are getting into this industry for the first time do not have garages or repair facilities. So in other states, they were actually required to close down completely. So any dealer without a garage or repair facility that was located in a state that required dealers to have that to remain open, in fact, closed. And I saw, I did see and was aware of many dealerships across the United States that did close. So then the next few months, we were either required to close our dealerships completely or drastically reduce the number of persons that were allowed in our dealerships, which greatly reduced or completely eliminated the money that was coming into our dealerships. So it was really, really a tough year. Now, at the time of the pandemic, dealers in Texas had plenty of inventory. Business was going really well when that pandemic hit. And then that obviously changed everything in our vehicle supply chain. So during the pandemic, millions of persons stayed at home and dramatically increased their use of electronic devices, especially laptops used by kids staying at home from school and parents that were working at home, which led to an unbelievable demand for computer chips. The shortage of chips was really affecting our industry because chips are used in a vehicle in everything from brake sensors to power steering to entertainment centers. So a car or any motor vehicle doesn't just have one chip. It has several chips that are located all over, even with airbags. So, it's not just one chip. Every motor vehicle that's manufactured needs multiple chips. And this vehicle chip shortage led motor vehicle manufacturers around the world to reduce or completely stop production. Now, they do have a lot of vehicles that are just waiting on chips to be installed. And I've actually seen pictures of thousands of vehicles on deserted airport runways just waiting to have their chips installed so they can be delivered to the franchisees. And that led to a shortage of vehicles as well. And this is part of the problem that led to the problem we've experienced in the last year, that motor vehicle inventory shortage, which has had a very negative effect not only on brand new franchise dealers, but used motor vehicle dealers in Texas as well. In 2021, Ford manufactured about 700,000 less vehicles than normal as a direct result of the ongoing semiconductor chip shortage. 700,000 less vehicles in 1 year. Think about that. That's a huge decrease in production. This semiconductor shortage has also forced Ford, like many other motor vehicle manufacturers, to completely change the way they do business. And now they're prioritizing high margin vehicles and strategically important vehicles over others. They're deleting features when possible, and they're shifting more towards a build-to-order model rather than filling the dealer lots with inventory. This could really alter the way that manufacturers deliver vehicles to franchisors, leading to a build-to-order way of doing business. We could really see a change in our industry because of everything that's happened here in the last year or two. So instead of a brand new car model, this manufacturers, this dealer to customer model that manufacturers have used for over 100 years, where the manufacturer sends thousands of vehicles to franchise lots and waits for customers to come on the lot and purchase the vehicle. This new purchasing model could become the norm, where a person places an order for a brand new vehicle and the vehicle is made as per their instructions with the exact options, then delivered to their local dealership in about 2 to 3 months. Ford had great success with this ordering model with the new Ford Bronco. If you wanted a new Ford Bronco, you had to order it and wait for it to be manufactured, then delivered to your local dealership. This model of delivering vehicles has been very profitable for Ford because they do not have to have millions of dollars of Ford Bronco inventory either stored locally where the vehicle was made or stored locally on the dealership lot. And by the way, on a side note, there are some states that are trying to pass bills that will allow manufacturers like Ford, Chevy, Toyota, etc. to sell a vehicle, have the vehicle manufactured, then deliver that vehicle directly to the customer, therefore bypassing the middleman or the franchisee dealer completely. Very interesting what's been going on here. Right now, this is not allowed, but most motor vehicle manufacturers are required by law to sell a vehicle to a franchisee who then must sell the vehicle to the customer. Several electric motor vehicle manufacturers have lobbied our state legislatures to allow them to sell and deliver a vehicle directly to a person, which would allow them to bypass dealers completely. So we're keeping an eye on these types of bills, which could really affect the industry in a dramatic fashion. We'll hope you prepare for that. Another advantage to this new operating model for new vehicle dealers is the numbers themselves. Think about this. I've done some research on this lately. 94% of vehicles that were sold in 2021 sold at or above MSRP. 94% of the vehicles sold in 2021 sold at or above their manufacturer's suggested retail price, where only 12% of those vehicles sold in 2019 at manufacturer's suggested retail price. So think about this from a manufacturer's perspective of profits. This could be the new norm for brand new motor vehicle manufacturers to sell vehicles on a pre-order basis only. So some positive news for us is that slowly but surely that semiconductor chip shortage is starting to kind of slow down a little bit. And we're starting to see semiconductor chips available again. Not going real quick, but they are certainly beginning to return to the market. So what does this mean for used motor vehicle dealers? Well, it's great news because we are getting ready to see a huge influx of vehicles that are going to flood every dealer auction in the United States. This is great news for our industry. And here are a couple of scenarios that could lead to more vehicles being sold through the auction lanes. First of all, rental returns. You're probably aware of this. Large rental car companies like Enterprise, Thrifty, and Hertz, they buy several thousands of brand new vehicles from manufacturers and they rent to customers. And they normally rent a brand new vehicle for about 2 years. And then when they've rented a vehicle for about 2 years and they've made their money with it, they'll sell those vehicles that they've been renting so they can buy more brand new vehicles. So the vehicles they're renting are going to be fairly new with low miles, which is what rental car customers, have come to expect. I mean, if you rent a car from an Enterprise, you're not going to expect to rent a car that's 5 or 6 years old with 80 or 100,000 miles. You expect the late model vehicle with a low number of miles for the money that you're spending on that rental. So in the past, the rental car agencies would sell vehicles they've been renting at dealer auctions. Most rental car companies sell their used fleet vehicles at dealer auctions when the vehicle is about 2 years old. But that model has changed in the last year or so because the rental car companies realize they're unable to replenish rental car fleets because there are no new vehicles to purchase because of that chip shortage. So in order to maintain business, they've been holding on to those rental car fleets much longer than normal, which has led to a massive reduction in the number of rental returns that are coming through the Texas dealer auction lanes. During normal years in the past, you could go to your local dealer auction anywhere in Texas, and one day you might see, the Enterprise lane with all the Enterprise rental return vehicles coming through one lane. And then the lane next to Enterprise, you might see the Thrifty rental car lane with all the Thrifty rentals returns. And then in the dealer auction lane next to that, you might see Hertz rental returns coming through. Well, now that the rental car companies are starting to be able to replenish their inventory, we are seeing a dramatic increase of rental returns that are coming back through the Texas dealer auction lanes. This is really, really great news. So we, as used dealers, are becoming able to replenish our inventory because of the rental returns that are coming through the lanes again. So once again, Texas dealership trends are looking really good here as far as easily being able to get inventory for your dealer lot once you've gotten your license. Another great thing I see on the horizon is the return of off-lease vehicles through the auction lanes in Texas as well. Many consumers in the U.S. and abroad actually prefer to lease their vehicles instead of purchase vehicles outright, and that can actually, be some tax advantages to leasing, especially for some small business owners. In fact, in 2021, believe it or not, nearly 1 out of 4 vehicles were actually leased instead of sold outright. I didn't know the numbers were that high, but it's interesting to note that 1 out of 4 vehicles that changed hands in 2021 were actually leased instead of purchased outright. So we do have customers that want to lease a brand new vehicle every 2 or 3 years. Now, the problem with these customers, that what they've experienced recently because of that chip shortage, is think about when a person leased a vehicle is nearing the end of their lease term, they will normally want to lease a new vehicle to replace the vehicle they're returning. Well, in the last year, they've not been able to lease new vehicles because of the big vehicle chip manufacturing shortage. So instead of returning those leased vehicles, many lessors have renegotiated their lease to keep a vehicle another year or two, which has dramatically reduced the number of lease returns coming through the Texas dealer auction lanes. During normal times in Texas, when a vehicle comes off lease, it comes through the dealer auction lanes. I remember the day when I would just stand in a lease return lane at the dealer auction and buy as many lease return vehicles that I wanted. One day at the auction, you might see Ford Credit. The next day, and they've got all the 2 and 3 year old Fords that are coming off lease coming through that Ford Credit lane. And then the next week, you might see GMAC, where all the 2 and 3 year old Chevy and GMC vehicles that were coming off lease were coming right through the lanes. And with so many lessors hanging onto their vehicles at the end of the lease, we have seen a shortage of lease returns coming through those Texas dealer auctions as well. Well, the good news, we now are seeing those manufacturers that are beginning to get caught up and now seeing lease returns coming through those dealer auction lanes in Dallas and Houston, San Antonio, Austin. In fact, it appears that we are seeing a dramatic increase in lease returns coming through the lanes throughout the state. So this is really great news. And I do predict that we're going to see explosive growth in our industry in 2022. This is a great time to make the move to get your Texas dealer's license. I'm going to talk about how easy that is here in just a little bit. And another great thing for 2022, the average American car buyer is ready to buy. They've got a pent-up buying demand that's going to explode this year, and I believe that's going to lead to a record number of motor vehicle sales in the state of Texas. So how do you get into the dealer auctions? Well, you can do it with your Texas dealer's license. That's how. So we've been helping entrepreneurs just like you obtain a Texas dealer's license, a profitable Texas dealer's license, and I am an approved provider for the state of Texas. Texas dealer licenses are regulated by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, and that's the Texas DMV. And the training course that we provide is approved by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles and will meet your mandatory dealer pre-license training requirements. As stated earlier, you can easily download your free Texas Dealer License Startup Manual in that description below, or you can go to texasdealers.com, click on Get Licensed, and you can download that manual. Remember, you don't even have to enter an email or any type of contact information. You can just easily download that free PDF. I hope that you find it very, very helpful. But remember, if you want to get a Texas Dealer's License, there are basically 7 steps. You'll need to take that online dealer course, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. You've got to have a building, and if you're going to sell retail vehicles to a customer, you have to have 5 spaces. Now, wholesalers can only sell to other dealers, and there are disadvantages to that because you're really limiting your market. Now, if you want to make the move and find a building with a lot with 5 spaces, then your opportunity with a Texas dealer's license is just phenomenal. And I get calls all the time. I want to get a license, but I don't want to have to rent a building or get 5 spaces. Well, if you think about the markup in this industry is incredible. It's dramatic. I mean, if you're not paying your monthly lease on that building with one sale, you're not marking your vehicles up enough. If you're selling 2 or 3 vehicles a month, I mean, that one sale is going to cover your costs of your building and your lot. So don't hesitate to go out and maybe spend, anywhere from $500 or even $1,200 a month. If you're not making that back on one sale, you've got to mark your vehicles up much higher. And we'll talk about that in your training course. You're going to need to get an employer identification number. We're going to show you how in your training. You're going to need to register with the Secretary of State or possibly your county. We're going to show you how in your training. You'll need to get a dealer surety bond. We'll show you how in your training. It's a $50,000 bond, which is going to cost you around $300 a year with good credit. With a couple of blemishes on your credit score, that price can go up quite a bit. In your training, we're going to show you exactly how to apply for your dealer license correctly in e-licensing. And once you do get that license, I want you to be aware you do have to open your doors and maintain minimum hours and some records. So we're going to cover all that with you as well. You know, it is much easier than you think to obtain a Texas dealer's license, and you're going to learn all those startup requirements when you take your online dealer training course. The online dealer training course that we can provide you is only $149, and that includes your mandated 6-hour online video training course. You can easily watch that those training videos at your convenience. If you want to, you can watch all 6 hours a day, or if you want to watch a couple of hours today, maybe a couple of hours tomorrow, then finish up next week or next month or even next year. Our state-of-the-art learning management system will track your progress, and when you've watched all 6 hours of your required videos, your official Texas Dealer Educational Certificate of Completion will just download automatically. And I got some more great news for you. The dealer certificate of completion that you download when you've watched all the videos never expires. It never expires. So you can hang on to your certificate and apply for your Texas dealer's license today. You can apply for your Texas dealer's license next week. You can apply for your Texas dealer's license next month, next year, or even 5 years from now, because your Texas dealer license certificate of completion does not expire. Okay, so not only is the state of Texas ranked as the best business environment in the country, the state of Texas passed a great law that says a person must only take that dealer pre-license training one time. So in most states, a dealer license education certificate expires in 6 months or a year after the course, but in Texas, you can take your required dealer pre-license training and your certificate of completion never expires. So just be sure to store it in a safe place where you can use it at any time in the future when you are actually ready to apply for your dealer's license. You know, I'm obviously partial to this great business, but I've been involved in the motor vehicle industry for many, many years, and I truly believe a motor vehicle dealer license is one of the greatest businesses on the earth. I've helped entrepreneurs just like you that have absolutely no idea of how to get a dealer's license, and I've walked them step by step through the entire startup process and helped them launch a very profitable business with their own Texas dealer's license. Before you enroll, I want to encourage you to read the reviews at our website. Just go to texasdealers.com and click on the link at the top of the page that says course reviews. And these are all folks just like you that have taken our training and agreed to have their testimonials and photographs posted on the texasdealers.com website. I think these are some pretty powerful reviews. I certainly hope that you will read those testimonials. And you know, as a side note, I procrastinated years and years before I finally made the move to get my own dealer's license. And when I did make that move to get my own dealer's license, I'd wished I'd gotten my license much, much earlier. You know, now is the time that folks all over the United States are quitting their jobs and they're starting their own business. And to me, this is truly the greatest business in the world. You can do this. I'm going to walk you through the entire startup process. I'm going to show you also how to maintain compliance, which means you follow every rule, law, and guideline. Once you get that dealer's license, you're going to be amazed at how cheap vehicles are selling for at the dealer auction lanes and how much you're marking them up for on the lot. But there are some rules and guidelines. This is a very high profit industry, which is tightly regulated because it is so high profit. It's like if you want to get a real estate license, that can be very profitable. Real estate licenses are tightly regulated and require training. If you want to get an insurance license, that can be very profitable. That's regulated as well. I have had a dealer's license. I've had a real estate license. And I've had an insurance license, and I made a lot more money with my dealer's license than I ever did in insurance and real estate combined. So the dealer training course that you take is only $149, and you're going to learn the step-by-step startup process. You're going to learn how to run that business with 100% compliance. That way you'll be able to run your Texas dealership for many, many years, and the profits in this industry are as high as you want them to be. You can sell a few vehicles a year with your Texas dealer's license, or you can use your Texas dealer's license to sell a few thousand vehicles a year as well. So what are you waiting for? You know, when you're ready to change your life with a Texas dealer's license, just visit texasdealers.com and click on that big blue Enroll Now button. Now go for it.